I'm going to get my Picto needle covers. So I'm going to match up the 0. So I'm going to flip this here and then snap it over and try to match the center, this line to that line, kind of. Get a little closer, see how it's lined up. Looks good. Number 4 to the right, number 2 to the left. Oops. And I'm not going to bother putting on the other ones because the work isn't that big. And I don't think the yarn's going to get caught on the edges. So that's the first step. Now I'm going to move my left edge spring all the way to the right so I have access here. So I'm going to put this on this way here. So it's going to stick up, and this is what's going to trip the row counter for the Picto. Right here. So I have it on the stitch size I'm going to use. I'm going to use the max stitch size here. I'm going to put this on the bed to the left. So you're not going to see it, but I'm going to put it on kind of like this and wiggle these and then snap this on. So you'll see. Okay, so I'm going to put this on the left. I'm going to pull these up so that these can go under the rail here. I'm doing this to the left of the work. Okay, and first step is I do 1 row here, and it's going to bring all the needles up to get started. Okay, so you want to make sure that all the latches are open, which they are. So we are ready to start putting the design on. Excuse me. So my Picto counter went to 1 when I did that row. So I'm going to have it match the row counter that the lock was at, which was 46. So I'm going to move this to 46. And then this design here is going to be row 59 is the change in my next change in design. And then 26 more rows, that is 85. Then here, 13 more rows. So I could go back and look at my chart, but I'm just going to do this here. So this is row 98. And then here is when we start shaping, which is 106. So I have to put the yarn on the needles here. So I'm going to use the yarn that's coming through the eyelet for the right hand side, but I'm going to pull out lots of slack so it isn't tensioned by the mast. And I'm going to use separate balls for doing the other sections. So here I'm going to need one end black, another end of the lime, another end of black, another end for lime. I'm going to start placing the design in from the middle, and I'm going to go from needle 9 right to 9 left for my chart. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, I could have had a more detailed chart zoomed in and listed out where the stitches were, what numbers they were at. but I'm just starting from the center. I know these blocks are 9, just based on the design. So it's not difficult for me to know where these are going to be. So then I'm going to do a black from stitch 10 to 18. That's 9 stitches. It's 20, 18, 9 to here. And then that leaves this rightmost one from 45, the extreme, to 19. Now I need another end for here, and then also to stitch 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to lay out my extra ends down here. And then I need one more end for the last section. Okay, so what I want to have is all my 4 starting ends to underneath all the other ends. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to knot these all together to kind of help control them. I could secure them all on the end, but on the side, but that's more yarn than I need to use, and I'm kind of frugal with the yarn. Okay, so I have that knot. I'm going to put it underneath. I'm actually going to catch it on the cast-on comb. Now what I'm going to do is hold these ends, but not too tight. I'm just going to kind of hold them and guide them. I don't want to tension them too much because that's going to cause my work to become too tight. So I'm just going to hold them loosely. And do 1 row with the Picto. I'm just going to let it pull the yarn. Try to keep it underneath that feeder, but that's okay. Okay. Now with this pattern, it's the same thing on the next row. So you'll see how I'm going to do this. So I'm going to start from the left this side, because that's the side the Picto's on. So I'm going to go, so I'm going to take the next one and pull it up between the needles where I want this one to go down and switch. So I'm going to go like this and have it cross underneath there. So to the right hand is the one that I'm going to be putting down. Left hand is bringing that up, cross, switch hand, bring that up between the needles I want it to switch on, and across, up, slide it down, and all the way to the end. So this is just going vertically up. That's pretty easy, but you also you can do it a few stitches to the right or left, but you just don't want to have too much of a change on one row. If it's too many stitches to this jog to the side, then you should use another ball of yarn. And how many stitches that is depends on the thickness of your yarn and your stitch size. So I'm going to hold these all again, make sure they just don't get tangled, and just let it freely go through. So doing the Picto again. Okay, that's 2. And I'm going to do this exact same pattern until row 59. So now the left hand is taking the yarn, and the new piece comes on the right, and I'm pulling it up between the needles I want it to switch on. So what this is doing is also undoing the crossover we made. Okay, so I'm going to hold these gently, undo another row. And then keep going. Make sure the latches are all open. That one popped up a little bit. Make sure to go around the outside. Otherwise you won't knit that stitch and it'll come off. Okay, so now I'm going to set up for my next change in pattern. So it's going to be, put that there. It's going to be the leftmost yarn to the same spot with this second piece, but now this piece is going to go all the way over here. So I'm going to lose these 2 ends. So I'm only going to have 3 now. So this is going to go all the way over here. So now I'm going to hold these 3, and this is going to be easier to manage now. Okay, now I'm going to trim these extra ends, giving plenty to use to weave in, and then I'm going to stuff them underneath. Okay, now I'm going to continue this pattern until row counter 85. I'm at row counter 85, so now I have to introduce the new pattern. Okay, now that I'm at row 85, I am going to introduce the new pattern. So I'm going to have it green all the way up until needle 9 here, so 10 green, 9 black, and symmetrical on the other side. So I'm going to bring this all the way over to needle 10. See, that's 10. And then 9 will be black. So I'm not going to just bring it across like that. I'm going to drop this down and secure this around the cast on comb, so I have a little bit of slack to weave in the ends, because I don't want to have this, you know, 9-stitch long float on the back. So I'm going to snip it and weave both ends in. And so this is going from needle 9 left to 9 right. So that's, I'm going to count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Right? Okay, same thing here. I'm going to weave this around the cast on comb down there. So secured, I have a pretty long tail, and then this is going to go from 9 to the end. Okay. So I'm actually going to wind this around here. Okay, and so my Picto is on row count 85, and so I'm going to do 13 rows here, so that is until row 98. Okay, same thing on the back. So doing a geometric pattern makes it easy to do following rows if they're lined up properly, but it also makes it so that if you mess up, it's much more obvious. So it has its advantages, but also its drawbacks. Looks like I got a little knot in the yarn.